You know what time it is.
Blood Oath.
Pack 7, people. We are very fortunate to be tasting one of our favorite reviewed bourbon blended finished whiskeys on the show that we've tried. And we've tried a couple of these.
We sat with John Rempe. This is kind of his love child, you know? It's like his brain distilled into a bottle. It's his creative vision.
New. That's new.
Oh, that's not. Yeah, you're right. That's not a previous
little
bottle.
Blood Oath embossing on the side there is pretty badass.
And then the blue coloring is a new touch too.
Yeah, everyone has a new color.
Very different.
Yeah.
There he is. There's his name, Mr. John Rempe himself. Like we said, we had John on the podcast where we got to taste some previous Blood Oath pacts, if you will. And they are exceptional and
no nails. This is going to be impossible to open.
Here.
You got it?
Get it from the bottom.
Or I have to grab a knife. But yeah, no, so what we have here, guys, just a little information on Blood Oath Pack 7. Generally, these are blended whiskeys. So this is a blend of one high rye 14-year-old bourbon and two 8-year high rye 8-year-old bourbons. So one of those bourbons, however, was finished in Sauterne cask.
Yes.
Sauterne is a sweet wine from Bordeaux. And yeah,
I'm looking. You know, one of the things that I love about the Blood Oath series is that it's sort of like like a great movie that ends up being so uniquely from the vision of a single director, right? Like it's not diluted. There's no.
It's the director's cut.
It's exactly. It's his vision, and it's not very often in the spirits world that you truly get to have something from the mind of one person in particular, one very well regarded person in particular from the spirits industry.
When John Rempe is done getting, when he takes off, the gloves and is finished with a day of making some Nicholson or, some Rebel Yell, he goes home and he drinks this.
And he's dreaming about the next one of this.
And he's thinking about what he's going to do next year. So Pack 7, they've been doing this for 7 years now, meaning that the first one came out, I'm assuming, 2014. But this is a pact. It's a pact John at Lux Row Distilling is making with you, the consumer, saying, I promise, I swear, by my blood that this is the best I've got. This is the best I can do. This is what I'm hanging my hat on. So, I've
been waiting for this.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Hopefully it's as good as we're super hyped up. Okay, light nose, not crazy. Let's get in there a little more.
It's rye on the nose, man.
Yeah, the
very much
triple high rye blend will do that, right? There is a signature Lux Row style that I'm getting that reminds me of other Lux Row products I've had. However, what I'm not getting on the nose is the Sauterne cask.
Yeah, I don't get any wine.
It's not.
This is rye on the nose through and through.
I've only had 2 other Sauterne cask finishes, and so
it's a little musky. Maybe that's kind of what it is, because 8 years in Sauterne could be, or it's probably not 8 years.
I don't know. I can't
in
speak
Sauterne, but it's 8 years old.
The amount of time it was finished.
Right.
I don't think it was 8 years though. All right, I'm going in.
It is. It's like a musky, funky nose with a lot of rye.
Now again, this is 49.3%. That's 98.6 proof.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like that's less than some of the previous Blood Oaths.
Yeah, I don't know how many of them cross the 100 proof barrier. I have to look that up. Pretty good. I just don't know if it's like mind-blowing, but it's definitely that signature Lux Row flavor you're getting. It tastes like the other stuff I've had from them.
Well, yes. I mean, it's so wow. There's a good amount to unpack here. There is definitely a Vigneous quality to this. I mean, it's a bit of like this chewy wine
I get it. On the
that's
end.
happening. It's there. It's not as forward as I might have expected, especially considering that it's quite prominent on the front of the bottle. But it's there. It's on the back end.
It's subtle. I get the Sauterne finish right before you swallow it. Right before
like back of the
the
tongue.
very back of the tongue.
It's quite
There's
peppery,
a little
actually.
rolling kind of sour grape.
Yeah.
Maybe sour green grape almost flavor to it. But very, on the front end, if you weren't paying attention, if you weren't really sifting through this thing carefully with your taste buds,
You'd miss it.
You would miss it.
Yeah.
It's subtle. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's just meant to be more of a hint and not overpowering.
Well, and we don't know the percentage of the blend either. So it's there, but we don't, it could only be 10, 20% or something like that.
No clue.
Yeah. It's, I will say this, it's bold and blended.
It's very easy to drink.
Yes, it is.
I could drink a lot of this.
I could very much drink a lot of this.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's the other thing I'd say is there's no off notes. There's nothing off-putting about it. It's a pretty clean, good whiskey. I mean, this drinks like a great, wine finished bourbon that I've had.
It does.
The finish is indicative of a better aged whiskey, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm coming to on this. I mean, this is an aged blended whiskey, and a lot of times you get a lot of darker fruits, you get a little bit of that brandy, there's a little hint of leatheriness on the back end here, although I really think it's as a rye forward.
I get more rye than I get Sauterne.
Exactly, and if I remember correctly, he
up.
hasn't really done a lot of rye in his Blood Oath series in the past.
I know that there have been potentially some non-rye.
Correct.
I'm gonna I shook it up a little bit. I'm gonna have one more pour in a different glass just to see. Going in for a little bit more.
It's starting to open up nicely.
It is.
You never know with that first pour from the neck.
Pour,
you never know what you're
pour.
gonna get.
Okay, so I really like the whiskey. I was just hoping for more of an extreme Sauterne, blast you from left field kind of a thing. I think my expectations maybe exceeded the result of what I'm tasting. I think my gut reaction is that you're kind of at like maybe an $80 bourbon that's got a package you're paying an extra 20, 30, 40 bucks for. I think this bourbon on its own in a white label is probably worth about 80 bucks. But I think the package, the presentation, the box, the story, the Sauterne finish, I'm sure it's not cheap.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this is a more subdued release from John. I think that in the lineup of the Blood Oath series, this kind of sits back and says, I want to be very balanced. I want to hit you with some rye. I want to hit you with this nice kind of soury, little bit of zesty grape notes from the Sauterne, but I don't want to overwhelm your palate. It's extremely drinkable, very, very well blended. And I think the other thing that sometimes we have a hard time putting our finger on, I think back to the Michter's 10. Yeah. When something is very mature, it can be, it just kind of sits back. And there is this musky barrel note to it, but it's not going to punch you in the face by any stretch of the means. It's very well blended, but it's mild mannered from the Blood Oath series.
Yeah, my favorite probably is still Blood Oath Pact 1, but I would say this is up there with my impression of the Blood Oath Pact 6, which we tried last year.
Yeah.
That was the cognac cask finish.
Mm-hmm.
Sauterne,
What do you
Just-
guys think of it?
yeah.
I mean, have any of you guys gotten your hands on the Blood Oath?
Curious to know what you guys think. Go ahead, leave some comments. Be sure to subscribe and follow the Cartel Hour, and throw us a like. And if you like the post and you like the review, I'm curious to know, what do you think of the Blood Oath series, and especially if you had it, Blood Oath Pact 7.
There you go. And do check out our episode with John
Yes.
on our Cartel Hour podcast. He is extremely enjoyable to listen to how he creatively thinks through his
Brilliant,
process. That is a
actually.
great episode. So there you have it, Blood Oath.
All right, guys. Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.